Welcome back to Haunted by Tapes with the Frog Brothers Podcast.
Hello, and welcome to...
Guess what? Our old title for this segment was called SpectreVision, but SpectreVision, the production company, reached out and asked us to change the name. So,
We have no affiliation with SpectreVision, the production company that actually produces movies.
yes, no affiliation with that business. So we'll let them do their thing. We're going to change the segment title. So,
This will be something. When you're looking at this and you've downloaded it and listened to it, it'll have a title of some sort that is
it'll already
not...
be retitled.
Yeah.
From the future, we're telling you now
Exactly.
that the past, things have changed.
What a weird fucking week.
And we're going to have to retcon our history.
Basically.
It's
but
fine.
but when you watch those old episodes, it'll still be like, there'll be a hint of it in there. Like, what the fuck is this?
It'd be like watching the DCEU movies where you're just like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, it'll be like watching the first Iron Man and you're like, what? That's not War Machine.
Oh, Don Cheadle jokes and
What's the other guy? Terrence Howard?
Terrence Howard was the original. Yeah.
Yeah. He was good too. I mean, it's one
He
of
was great.
We don't need to get into that. We're talking Basket Case today.
Basket Case.
From 1982, baby.
Directed by Frank Henenlotter.
On a $35,000 budget.
Shot on 16 millimeter film.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty cool.
Now, obviously we're covering this because we just covered Malignant, and I had to get some other fucking eyes on this shit because of Malignant. Because
Yes.
people either hate or love Malignant. But the people who love it...
People are praising Malignant for its uniqueness, and it's not unique at all. It
Yeah.
is off the pages, plagiarized from this.
It is, there's an excessive amount of plot elements from this movie in that one. Like, if I was to say, oh, a guy who was separated from his conjoined twin goes and hunts down the doctors that did it and kills them, I would be describing both movies.
Yes. If you leave out certain plot points and keep some basic things on there, yes.
Obviously, there's some different shit.
Yeah, I get
but-
that right, but yeah.
Yeah.
You know what this movie has that Malignant doesn't?
A higher percentage on Rotten Tomatoes.
Claymation. But yeah, the higher percentage too. Claymation, the claymation scene in this fucking tickled me to death. I love that fucking sequence.
I love all the shit like that. Yeah, it reminds me of like the Evil
Fucking
Dead
glorious.
shit. I mean, it doesn't look as good as that, obviously, but...
But the thing is that the claymation is like life-size claymation in the actual room. So you can tell that they're doing still photography with a life-size creature that looks great in that room. It's not like they didn't miniaturize the room, they just made it fit, which actually makes that one of my favorite claymation pieces ever in a movie, even if it's looks shitty, just from the actual way
Well,
they
I
have it
mean, you
rolled
just
up.
understand, like, the puppet doesn't always look the greatest and stuff because of not only the time, but the budget, really.
Yes.
Um,
And and I think mostly is the number of frames just isn't high enough for that to be as smooth as it could have been.
Yeah.
Which I get. For a $35,000 budget, still looks pretty good.
so this has a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes. By the way, that's a higher score than Life Aquatic.
The fuck?
What world are we living in? That has like a 54% on there. And I'm not saying this is bad, because as far as horror goes, like, it's pretty good. Like, everything that's bad about it is just because there's a low budget to it, and it doesn't necessarily make it terrible. It's very weird and campy for sure, but...
It's weird and campy in a way that works. It's self-aware of its in a way that, you're just kind of like, okay. But the actual performance and stuff are pretty decent, right? You're not like, oh man, this is terrible or any of that, right? There's some odd things in there and stuff, but it's...
Yeah. I like the
acting feels very much in pace with real traditional straightforward acting from the time, right? It doesn't feel off-putting.
I just like the vibe of the New York of like the early 80s, late 70s vibe. Like, it just reminds me of like Taxi Driver and shit. Like, I imagine that takes place in the same universe as this.
I think Frank also, did he not write this as well?
Yeah.
And so I think he said he was walking around Manhattan, like, was inspired to write this movie just based on seeing, like, how, I don't know, New York is such that melting pot, and it's so cliche to say, but there's just so much going on there, and there's so many odd elements and things that shouldn't be together but are.
Like, if you're watching it on film, especially that time period, and it's particularly Taxi Driver in this one, they make New York seem a lot scarier than it is, even Trading Places. Mm-hmm. And they have that sort of like gritty New York, because New York has both of that very much, like rich motherfuckers and the brokest of the broke. So
yes, and
It's interesting to see
Kind
that.
of one of those things where you're seeing the other boroughs besides Manhattan, right? You know, it seems like everything it wants to shoot something beautiful and pretty and overpriced is all Manhattan, and everything else just kind of goes to the other boroughs. So you get this like weird sense of violence and darkness that surrounds Manhattan Island, I guess.
So
Dwayne-
this film debuted at Cannes Film Festival,
That's awesome.
and one of the lines used on the poster was from somebody who actually did not like the movie, Rex Reed. His quote was, "This film is sick." And they used it on the poster. Joe Bob saw the first screening of this. I watched his last drive-in with this. He saw that screening at Cannes. He was there.
That's badass.
And unless I misunderstood, he was basically saying that they took out the gore at one point because they were trying to make this movie not be a scary movie, but be more like a comedy.
Oh, okay.
Mostly because of like distribution. They were the ones trying to like pressure the filmmakers to. So eventually they did like this weird cut of it without any of the gore, and they wanted Joe Bob to play it at the drive-in that he was doing movies for, or whatever. He was like, only if you put the gore back in. So according to him, he got the gore put back in this movie,
Oh, well, that's fucking badass.
which is fucking incredible.
Yeah, because this movie works on such a level. If you take the gore out of it, it really just becomes kind of a boring movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to watch it without the gore.
Yeah.
I like Belial's, the little
Belial, yeah.
Belial is his name.
Belial and Dwayne.
I like his breathing throughout the movie, though. Like, just throughout, whenever you're, like, his point of view and stuff like that, it's great.
There's some great moments in there, right? I mean, obviously, it's called Basket Case for a reason. He lives in this little wicker basket, Belial does. And you see him throughout, and, like, your first real introduction to him is when he's eating all the fast food that he gets dropped in
Which
by
is
Dwayne.
hilarious, too.
Because at this point, you have no idea what it is, right? You're still setting up plot points, and one of my favorite things, like, he chews it down and scarfs
Well,
it down
before
like a
that, he
dog.
does actually murder someone, but it's like, you don't know what's happening. You just know someone's being clawed up to death.
Yeah, and you see the one hand kind of showing you that something's going on, right? Something's not right. But then that's like out in the country.
He gets to the hotel room, and everybody in the lobby is really weird first, and then he gets up and he gets in the burgers or whatever, but...
Yeah, and everyone's really weird about the money, too, because
Yeah.
all this wad of cash he's carrying around, so everyone's there like trying
Which
to...
was the film budget. That was actual cash. It was just what they had for the budget.
That's amazing.
At least that's what it said online.
I would hope so.
I like the cheesy music in the movie, too. Mm-hmm. And like you said, the burger scene's hilarious. He's, like, eating the fuck out of some burgers. Like, why would that thing be so hungry? He has like, no metabolism comparatively because he's much smaller.
There's no stomach to put anything in
Right.
either, right?
You'd have to, like, be shitting immediately.
Which is, like, typical for any kind of... Whether you do Gremlins or any of those types of, like, small creature movies, like, right?
Well, that could be aliens and shit, though. There's, like, no sci-fi element to this.
Yeah.
Like, sci-fi stomach, I get it.
But it's pretty crazy.
Oh, they go to the... Oh, wait. I jumped ahead, sorry. Dumps the bag out into the basket. That's what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. Well, then they're looking for the doctors, right? That's when you kind of see the first hint of what that actually is. And they have that psychic conversation.
The whole going to bed thing where he's getting really
That's what
upset
I'm saying.
about it.
That's the psychic conversation where they
Yes.
reveal that they can link and understand each other without words.
Well, and it's basically
Or at least
implied-
Belial can.
Belial can speak to Dwayne, but I don't think Dwayne can speak back to Belial because he's having to yell every time.
Well, he's not necessarily having to. He just chooses to, I think, also. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's no definitive way. It does not tell me, but...
I think in some of the sequels they established that he doesn't have the psychic link back to Belial.
I have no idea. Haven't seen him. Only time we see the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
Rip.
Yep, and so as Dwayne's going out doing his hunting, he meets Sharon, who's they call her a nurse, or she's credited as a nurse, but she's technically more like the receptionist at this doctor's office, so she might have been doing both since it's a single practice, single doctor practice or whatever. And so he goes to do the research and goes in there and spooks the doctor a little bit just by showing him the scar.
Yeah, he's trying to creep him out and shit. I'm almost, like, when you're watching that, you're waiting for him to get killed, but he doesn't get killed yet.
Yeah, well, and it really sets up the fact that Dwayne is obviously the more sane of the two, but Belial...
He's still in for the murder, though, so fuck him.
Yeah, he's still in for the revenge, right? And, like, this is one of the greatest revenge flicks ever, just because of this nonsense.
So she's wearing a wig because, I mean, you could obviously tell it's what it is, but
yeah.
she had shaved her head because she's in a punk band at the time, apparently.
Oh, okay.
So that's why she's wearing a wig. She's like, I get off at 7 tonight. Hint, hint.
Yeah,
Because
she's
he can't
basically
fucking...
putting it in his lap.
Yeah. They go to... He goes to a fucking kung fu movie.
Yeah, but don't forget how important it is, though, because when he goes back to get her number, that basket gets sets down the basket and he whispers to her, and she's like, why are you whispering? And he doesn't really explain.
Mm-hmm.
And, he doesn't want Belial getting jealous because obviously they're very close and connected, but there's still, like, there's multi-layers to this relationship.
Belial is a fucking manipulator, and he doesn't want... Since he can't fuck, he doesn't want him to fuck. That's all there is to that.
Yep.
That's the explanation.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to a kung fu movie and falls asleep. The guy fucking steals the basket, opens it up, and gets fucking attacked by Belial. That's hilarious.
Yeah, and he kicks the lock off a wicker basket like, what kind of a fucking lock is going to work on a wicker basket? It's amazing.
Yeah.
But he gets fucked up and then, like, immediately, you think that guy ever stole again after that? Get your face chewed off? You think you're going to do that again?
Belial is, like, basically superhuman, too.
Mm-hmm.
Like, his strength, at least. Because he fucks up that door when he goes back to kill the doctor.
Yeah. The doctor gets freaked the fuck out. Like, he hears the door.
And that's basically your big monster reveal of full Belial.
Yes. That's pretty good, too, because the doctor's there sitting late. Belial knocks the door down. You don't even see it's Belial yet. The doctor just goes to look and, like, starts locking other doors and realizes, like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah.
So that's the first big... The second kill, but the first real big kill scene we get to see.
Yeah. And it's not even very clear how he's killing them, because it kind of looks like he's just clawing them to death till they bleed to death, or strangling them, or both.
And biting, I want to say, too. It looks like he
it's just
bites
kind of
and
all
claws.
random attacking till they just succumb to death.
And once you realize what Belial is, it's basically like the head, arms, and like just kind of a...
Shoulders, knees, and toes.
But that mushed, you can't even really tell what it is, but obviously with the Siamese twin thing.
He's a blob.
Yeah, kind of.
He gets the address book so they can hunt down the other fucking doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's eating hot dogs raw for breakfast.
That old fucking Rolodex, and that's a giant Rolodex. It's fucking full, man.
I love how he's eating raw hot dogs, though. It's fucking gross.
Yeah, he opens up that thing of hot dogs and like just dumps it in the laundry basket, the wicker basket, and you're like, whoa.
And then Dwayne has a jazz interlude date with Sharon at the Statue of Liberty. No permits.
Yep.
Obviously, because it's very famous for being a place where people couldn't film.
Mm-hmm.
I think even by the time Ghostbusters 2 was made, that was a thing. Like, it was hard for them to film there. But I don't know why you would try that hard to film the ending sequence there like that. Oh, I guess because that makes sense. That makes sense. Put it in my head together. All right.
Yeah.
But still, come on.
I think that's probably why there's no dialogue and that scene got edited out to just a credit scene. Because he wouldn't have spent all that time and effort to do that if he didn't have other plans with it. But that's another movie, and that's another time.
Either way, no permits. Probably a lot of this movie. I mean, him running down the street naked, definitely no permits.
Well, I think that's, 16 millimeter camera too at the time was a little bit easier to carry around, so it was easier.
Lots of these 80s slashers and shit were shot without very many or no permits, probably. So
yeah, I mean it's very guerrilla filmmaking, right? And that makes it even better.
My note is Belial is sexually frustrated as fuck because basically you can see that he can see what's happening on their date, and like when they kiss, he starts losing his shit back at the place. Mm-hmm. That's when he starts freaking out. Yeah,
and then he freaks out everyone in the hotel, or the motel, I should say, because that's a motel for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking everyone out, so everyone
goes...
goes...
Well, actually, it's a hotel, because motels have doors on the outside to your rooms. That's the difference. The more you know. like Motel 6, and they'd have the doors on the outside. You don't go into the lobby. You go in the lobby to get your key or whatever, but it's weird. They did not have a dolly. They used wheelchairs for the dolly scenes. Very much like El Mariachi. I'm sleepy. Let's see.
A little late here. Yeah.
Oh. Belial. No. I jumped down.
Then we go to the...
Belial murders the dude while they are out on the date. The one guy who was trying to snoop in his thing.
Yeah, the old man that
Which has been called both Dirty Lou and O'Donovan.
Yeah.
But Brian O'Donovan's the guy's name. That's a whole thing. I don't know. The characters are not necessarily named properly.
Continuity there. If they're, some of this they could have just been doing on the fly in DIY without actually having a full script for some of these moments.
Yeah, but holy shit.
Like.
The character's name is a thing.
Yeah.
Booger.
But that's interesting with him getting pissed in there because he's trying to get in there and get that money, and then, they obviously make a moment of that.
Sit.
Then when do we get to the flashback scene? Because that's a pretty big part of the story here.
Well, that happens in a second here. Belial's hidden in the toilet when he comes back or whatever.
Oh, yeah. It fucking climbs out of there all fucking Ghoulies style.
It's amazing.
Obviously, Ghoulies is after this. So.
Yeah. Dwayne, Belial is a mad incel, is what I wrote down. He is the definition of incel. Dwayne passes out and dreams of that shit when he's at the bar with, what's her face? The prostitute.
Yeah, the
neighbor.
I forget her name, but yeah. She was good in that role, too. She's she's great.
So he's dreaming of the flashback, seeing his dad. I'm just yawning out my ass. His dad's lashing out irrationally. Basically because his wife died in childbirth, and he wants the twins separated, but they can't be separated. And he's sick of the little one and the gross one. And he's like, no, it's not my son. And blah, 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 blah.
Yeah,
now you're telling me I have to have a name for that thing?
The thing that killed my wife. He gets really upset about it. And that's actually a pretty good sequence, too, right? You really get a lot of good background in there. Pretty well acted.
The surgery's kind of brutal until they pull Belial off, and you're like, that's so funny because it's just molded to like his body, so it just looks weird.
Yeah, the other big piece you learn on that is that she's a veterinarian, too.
I don't even know where we're at.
We were talking about the flashback sequence with...
Oh, no, we're past that.
No, it was just getting to the point where they'd ripped off the surgery in the flashback sequence, and...
That means it's over. Because they just throw out Belial and he goes and gets him.
Yeah, but I guess you got to go fetch him out of a trash bag like he's some back alley abortion.
He is, basically.
Yeah. And then the aunt, we find out that the aunt becomes very close. And then when the aunt dies, they go to seek the revenge plot because the aunt was the only thing keeping them from going crazy.
Yeah.
Because their dad's a prick.
And then Casey goes into her room after jumping Dwayne's dumb ass off. His drunk ass off. Mm-hmm. And Belial's waiting in her bed for her.
Yeah.
And then she loses her shit, and everybody thinks there's a monster in there for a minute, and they're like, whatever, fuck off, you're crazy, go back in there, woman. And you're like, oh, okay.
It's pretty wild, I'll tell you that.
Then they go to the last doctor's place, and she's the one who's the vet now. Mm-hmm. She's like, all right, let's see it. And this is, he says, oh, I don't have a cat. I have a dog. His name is my cat.
No, then this one she goes off and gives her speech like, fuck you, basically. You little bitch bringing that thing. She's like, you got anything else you want me to cut off you?
Yeah.
And throw away?
And then Belial attacks her.
Yeah.
And she ends up stabbed in the face with a bunch of...
I think it's like four scalpels fall in her face at one point in time. That's a pretty cool fucking sequence.
Well, he shoves her face in a drawer of scalpels. And I guess it's supposed to be implied that they stuck into her face, but whatever.
That's a pretty good sequence, though, because it looks frightening.
Then
they go back.
They go back where? What the fuck are you talking about?
Well, then they go back to their hotel.
Yes.
Because after they kill her, then
That's a full sentence. I understood that one.
then Sharon's got to go.
Basically, well, she doesn't have to go right away, but she does have to kind of go. But that's only once she wakes up.
Yeah.
Because basically what you're seeing here is Dwayne's dreaming that he is running naked down the street. But what's actually happening is Belial is running down the street, and he is naked because he's naked.
Yeah, he's always
Which is
naked.
why he's imagining himself naked in this vision, or a dream. But he's really just seeing what Belial's doing. He's seeing that. Then he imagines pulling the clothes off of sleeping Sharon's boobies.
Mm-hmm.
Booping the nipple.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He boops it like that first, like he's pressing a button.
Boops the, like a snoot. Boop the snoot.
And then he starts caressing the boob creepily. And I think that's where Dwayne wakes up and is like, oh, what? And then you kind of go back there and you see the creepy hand molesting her.
Yeah.
She wakes up and he loses his shit. Belial's like, fuck off.
Now, if you read the Wikipedia on this, it's hilarious too, because I like to cross-reference and see if there's any fun notes or anything in there. And it basically says that Belial, obviously, as we stated earlier, is very sexually frustrated. So the fact that he can't rape her, he kills her then because he's so mad because he doesn't have a penis.
But does he have a penis?
I don't know. We don't see anything.
We don't, because later when Dwayne walks in, he's sitting there humping her vagina, and there's a bunch of blood in between them. And apparently the crew walked out during this filming of that.
Oh, really?
They were like, oh, fuck this shit. We get a strange little mutant guy covered in blood humping the corpse of his brother's dead girlfriend that he just murdered.
Yeah.
It's pretty fucked up.
Well, I mean, this whole movie's fucked up, so, you know.
That is literally just like the...
That's the climax of fucked up in this movie. It doesn't get any more fucked up than that.
I like how his eyes glow.
Mm-hmm.
They do it a couple times throughout the things, but when it does that, it's extra creepy.
Well, and then Dwayne and Belial get into it.
Back at home, because he's like, fuck, we gotta get out of here. And then he's like, do you not want me to have anybody just because you can't? And then they get in a fight. Yeah, Belial grabs him by the dick.
Yeah, it's fucking hilarious.
He's like, fuck you and your goddamn dick having ass.
Yeah. See, I think that's why he's...
I'm sure.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, he tried to rape her even though he doesn't have a dick. Like, he's sitting there humping her.
Yeah.
It's fucked up.
If you see that thing, you fucking shoot it.
Exactly.
Bob Saget, everybody.
Then they fall out the window and they hang there for a while.
Yeah, and then they fall.
Why did you just have them fall to their deaths? Because that scene was unnecessary.
Yeah.
It was weird. But then they, die, but they don't die. You think they're dead, but then basket case 2.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of fake credits, too, because apparently the crew is a lot smaller and they didn't want people to know that. It's one of those deals.
Where they just, like, put their names and alternative names in there throughout random shit. So every job you did, you just had a different name for yourself in there.
I did that for the short film I made once.
Yeah. I mean,
you just do it so the people were like, oh, yeah, that's actually...
Well, otherwise, if you're like, this entire project was completed, edited, acted, performed by Alec West, and then you're like, and by the way, fuck you, I don't need anyone. That seems a little pompous.
I also did the music and distribution, and...
Exactly. So
I was also the on-set fluffer.
That surprises no one. Or does it?
Just wait till you see the behind-the-scenes footage.
People find out you can fluff yourself, they're going to start calling you to see what's up.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's Basket Case. But again, this movie, if you watched Malignant and you were like, hey, that's pretty good, watch fucking Basket Case. Old, cheesy, 80s, gory gloriousness. What else is there to say? It's great. Check it out.
Yeah, watch that. Malignant is a double feature, right? Just do that. Treat yourself.
Watch this one first because you'll appreciate it more. I think it's a better movie in general. And then by the time you're around to the third act of Malignant, which to me was probably about the worst part that everybody else seems to like, that feels like
because
an animatrix scene.
Yeah, a zombie Matrix part of a movie is what that felt like.
Yeah. Anyway, check us out on all the things. You know what to do. Good night. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the Frog Brothers Podcast. We'd greatly appreciate it if you could like and subscribe if you're listening on YouTube, and if you're listening on the audio feed on Spotify or Apple or Twitcher or wherever you listen, tell your friends and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube at youtube.com/thefrogbros. Hit us up on Instagram at Frog Bros Podcast, on Twitter at bros_frog, on TikTok at Frog Bros Podcast, and follow us on Facebook. Join our Facebook group Frog Bros Video by searching just that, Frog Bros Video. Hit request to join and you'll be approved. We have shirts available, the link is in our Instagram bio and below in the description, and you can find stickers on Etsy at Frog Bros, all one word. Additionally, if you'd like to give us a call and leave a voicemail soon, our Patreon will be live and we'll be posting monthly responses and reactions to the voicemails. Dial 816-832-5388.